Hi everyone, my name is Yinka. Welcome, and with me I have
Francesco
Francesco of MetaMask and Consensus. Awesome, sweet. You've been in Lagos for a couple of days now. How's it been?
Oh, look, I love Lagos. I love actually the temperature. It's perfect.
Yeah. The weather for this season or the past couple of weeks has actually been cooler than it used to be.
Oh yeah,
which is great. I'm sure you're familiar with the hotter climate and the hotter temperature, right?
Oh yes.
Sweet. Okay, so today we're talking about the future of wallets. Francesco has very interesting thoughts on very interesting things we have been talking about, and wanted to share that with everyone. So give us a brief intro and just take it up from there.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, everyone? I'm Francesco. I'm leading developer relation at Consensus. So under Consensus, you have all the umbrella tooling from MetaMask to Infura to the recent ZK EVM, Linea. Right. And I'm into everything around the developer, DevX, developer community and technical discussion. So I'm very passionate about everything around wallets, dApp connectivity, from also on the user experience side. I think we will touch a little bit on it. But yeah, and my background is actually in enterprise blockchain. Before that, and for a lot of people doesn't know it, but I'm actually a mechanical engineer. I love actually things that are moving. And then while I was in enterprise blockchain, I was everything excited around the institutional kind of rails and and the space is moving and moved, and we saw it. We're seeing this since 15 plus years. Building public open source technology is not just here to stay, but is enabling builders in the community to actually scale things.
Awesome. So I remember when we met a couple of days ago in person. You sort of talked about my EIP 7702 video that I made about a year ago now. And that went into our kind of traction and smart wallets and everything in between. What do you have to say? I mean, it's a year later.
Yes.
What does EIP 7702 look like, and what do smart wallets do right now?
Oh yeah, look. 437 has been around for a long time. When we kind of reach out all the Pectra upgrades, I was super exciting. We enabled so many use cases. Not just for making developer experience easier, but also for the user all out there, right? Think about stuff like batch transaction, revoke access in one single shot. A big shout out to the guys also at Revoke Cache. I really like the fact that now as a developer you can revoke access to 100 plus dApps.
Yes.
I think it's so powerful. And then, everything is moving around smart accounts, right? So on the MetaMask side, obviously, we're working around 7702. There is all this, we can kind of divide the discussion around user and developer, but I'm very excited around the developer side for this tool called Delegation Toolkit. Okay. It's basically an SDK. You can build a delegation and drive 7702 specific applications. And think about your delegating rights to do things. Okay. And it's very exciting because there is also a lot of adoption around the developers and dApps. And I think it's the next way for dApps connectivity. Right. So, and we know smart accounts is the way to go. We don't want to force anyone to update and upgrade their account. I think we want to make everyone aware that they're in control of data, they are in control of their action, and that's ultimate why MetaMask is here, right? Yeah. Has been building all this permissionless innovation kind of stack, is the door to everything Web3. And I think this amount of flexibility, having a flexible wallet is one of the most important assets in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds really interesting. However, though, you've been in the industry. You're working closely to this technology, right? What would you say are the top 3 things that excite you the most about the future of wallets?
So I think, I'm excited. I'm super excited around all the wave around the embedded wallets. I think, we need to satisfy different kind of onboarding journey. And one of them is obviously users that want to go through EOAs, right? And SRPs. Yeah. And I think, SSO logins, social logins is one of the most powerful way to onboard users, especially people that just want to game in Web3. They want to, run their first kind of NFT transaction. They don't want to go through a new SRP experience. Steps, So that's kind of the way to go. So embedded wallet. And I think embedded wallet as a stack is a very powerful part of the DevX journey for a dApps developer, right? And then I'm also excited around, building life easier for dApp connectivity. So everything is around the MetaMask SDK, for example. We see that a lot around dApps. You want to actually make the life easy for developers
Yes.
from actually building the dApps and deploying on mainnet.
Yeah.
So there are different things that are exciting me the most, right? And I think, not speaking just for MetaMask, but I mean, it's exciting me also like, new off-ramping ways, enabling more use case.
Yeah.
I think everybody here also like, heard about the MetaMask card.
That
so
is
you
a
can,
perfect segue, because when you mentioned off-ramp, like, yes, we have to talk about this, because I saw the card physically.
Yes.
And it's ridiculously cool, by the way. And I was like, how can I get my hands on one of them? So let's talk about the MetaMask.
Oh, yeah. So think about like, on-ramping has been around so long, right? If you want to really close the cycle when you're doing your on-chain life, you want to make sure you're actually off-ramping seamlessly, right?
Yes.
You're off-ramping directly from your stable account. And today, it's super exciting because with the MetaMask card, basically you have, you basically have some stables in your USDC account on Linea, and automatically you kind of like tap the card on your POS,
Right.
and you get a direct stable off ramp.
Right.
And I think it's very powerful because, if you think about kind of like, how you off ramp today, and for the people actually off ramping, right? Sometimes I feel I'm always kind of like on ramp, and I'm afraid, to spend actually like stables. But especially with all the DeFi progress that's been happening around the block, right? But I think like innovation is something that is super important, and off-ramping capabilities and having kind of like this third and closing this journey for the complete user journey is super important. Everybody's tapping to POS, but also like everybody want to have an on-chain credential, have an on-chain kind of like track record.
Yes.
And the fact that you are off-ramping to a stable, for example, a MetaMask account that is tied to on-chain activity, there is so many use cases that you can actually enable. We've been running a lot of these MetaMask Dev Cook-Offs. Those are hackathons. And last month, we ran something called MetaMask Dev Cook-Off MetaMask Card Edition. Basically, like developers were building dApps around all this kind of like MetaMask card ecosystem. Because you can enable so many use cases. Think about like borrowing loans, spending your borrowed like Aave loans, the rewards directly through your card.
Right.
Think about on-chain track record, and on-chain track record can also enabling loans.
Yes.
So there are different features that you can push right now. And right now, if you're off-ramping with the Apple or Android card is 1% cashback. So you enable also cashback. With the Metal is 3-4%.
Yeah.
And then, something else kind of like came out around the block, the MetaMask kind of like travel. So basically you can get cashbacks around traveling. Think about booking.com kind of like rewards.
Interesting.
And that's exciting. Not just for the cashback, not just for kind of like the travel, but having this ecosystem of tooling that enable people to use, but also be connected to things on chain, because that's the ultimate value. Think about, debanking ourselves is not just about traditional TradFi, but it's also about we need to have an on-chain identity.
Yeah.
After we have actually a track record and on-chain identity, we can actually start to have a different solution around that.
Yeah.
And
that does make sense, in a way to build up your credit score, if you will, because if you have these actual activities and we get into a decentralized future, if you will, that is definitely going to be something like financial systems can rely on, can make reference to, and be sure that, there are a lot of liquidity. There has been a decent amount of liquidity. There's been a decent amount of transactions. We can trust this.
Oh yeah. Especially now, if you look at regional wise, right? Like people look for kind of like salary to stable to off-ramp.
Yes.
They're obviously leveraging like inflation mechanisms. So there is a lot of interesting things. And it's not just a peer-to-peer payment game here. It's also about starting to kind of like generate yields from your stable. All these kind of like sub products need to be built, but also need to be adopted.
Yeah.
And one fun fact that I'm always kind of like excited to share is not just a technology game here, right? It's also a distribution game, right? And building community, building a resilient and long-term ecosystem of resilient community, I think is one of the most powerful things that you wanna build. And I think every region is different, right? But in the same time, we are looking forward to have, let's say, similar, ecosystem products. MetaMask Card right now is working with every POS out there, right? So shout out also to, company like Mastercard, because at the end, we cannot criticize, we cannot move away from a full Web2 ecosystem. We need to, at the end, our master kind of like North Star is onboarding more users in the ecosystem.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, I saw the card. I saw the TikTok you made, and how really cool it is. I dread off-ramping from crypto stables to fiat. So whatever I can do to spend stable, I'm all for it. So I'm looking forward to eventually getting my hands on the card and everyone else, hopefully. But yeah, no, that is really cool. Super excited for MetaMask cards. Do you want to talk to us about like multi-chain and Bitcoin? We sort of touched about that, but I have no idea what that is. So,
for sure. No, for sure. I think, so we have been working hard around kind of interoperability ecosystems, right? Obviously, you have not just developer, but user in different ecosystem. And we're super excited. We announced during Solana Accelerate the native support of Solana.
Okay.
And so this was one of the first kind of like, non-EVM chain that was integrated natively on extension, but more are coming. So the multi-chain kind of like narrative is here to stay. Obviously interop, all the kind of like, Omni account kind of like narrative is starting kind of to pop up. But why multi-chain is so important? Because we need to kind of start to adapt and kind of like understand that different users don't want to kind of deal all the time with their specific kind of like gas fee. They want to actually like have a seamless kind of like experience. And before you had MetaMask snaps, and there are still, snaps are so powerful, are fully permissionless. So many kind of dApps and developers are building snaps. Snaps are basically extending the functionality of the extension today.
Right.
And one of the main snap actually was the Solana snap. So people were installing this extension for actually have access to Solana.
Right.
And I think like this kind of like upgrade around integrating and going multi-chain, and we starting with Solana, and then obviously going to other multi-chain BTC included, is very powerful because I'm asking also myself a lot around, whose role is to kind of define the seamless interoperability around different chains. And, I think wallets definitely play a big role because they are kind of like playing in different ecosystem, and they need to unify the user experience.
Right.
So that's extremely important. But there is so many other things that we should think about. And and in the same time, on the developer side, you have a lot of company like I don't know, Wormhole. There is so many layer zero, so many kind of like interop kind of like protocol that are actually making a lot of interesting, let's say, DevX innovation. So we need this more, and we also need to understand that like gas fee payments, sponsored transactions. We can't expect anymore to have users to pay for their own transaction.
Right.
We want to have actually like dedicated account that maybe pay for directly for gas fee, right? So there is a lot of like different things. So on the gas fee side, that's probably like one of the most exciting thing, because even if right now both layer 2 and on mainnet Ethereum fees are actually lowering thanks to all the upgrades and the great work from EF. But things are improving. But in the same time, we also make sure that we need to kind of like abstract the way how we're doing on-chain activities.
Yeah, for sure. So let's dive into gas fees a bit more, because we initially started talking about smart accounts, smart wallets, and I remember looking into 43379 and 7702, and it had something to do with the reduction of gas fees, or basically optimizing gas fees and figuring out a way to make that seamless for onboarding the masses. So what does the future of that look like?
Yes, I mean, I think like obviously there is a lot of friction if you are onboarding. I onboarded one friend like last week. Obviously, like it's taking time also to explain why you need to pay for those fees.
Right.
There is friction, right? So I think like enabling how does it look like a frictionless experience is obviously having multiple token pay for gas fees. You don't need to pay for always with your ETH balance. You want to have maybe other account delegated that has gas fee payment directly in it. So that's why I'm also excited around all the delegation kind of like toolkit, because you can build delegation, and gas fee payments is one of the kind of like low hanging fruit in there. And why we're doing that? Because we want to kind of like achieve more and fewer steps for having a good experience. And I think payments, the apps connectivity, even stuff like, social recovery, getting like much more smooth all the SRP onboarding through kind of embedded wallets. So through SSO and social logins, it's kind of like where the game is really.
Yeah. No, it's again, perfect segue because we're wrapping this up with security. Right?
Yes,
I remember at the builders night, someone talked about how they lost their wallets and they lost a ton of money and because they didn't back up their seed phrase and all of that.
Yes.
So smart wallets, smart accounts, the future of wallet security. How do you think this?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of people in MetaMask actually working full time around security.
Yeah.
We take really seriously. I mean, it started everything with MetaMask Snaps. We have, I would say, multiple companies that build snaps around security on top of already the security standard that MetaMask has around multi smart contract checking. You have also like every time that you sign a transaction, there is also like a check around malicious URL and account. There is blockade. There is a tons of kind of like security mechanism that are involved around that. So it's actually like a super serious part of the game. And I think things are moving forward. There is a lot of kind of like trade-off in the same time that you need to kind of make. And sometimes, also like I'm playing a bit the devil advocates around smart accounts because when I have, and I think we were talking in the other nights a little bit around that every dApps that you're basically like having, you're creating a new smart account. So you have also entry points. So it's the same when we're speaking about social recovery with the email. What you want to do is actually doing through recovery of your funds through a multi-sig and guardian system. And it's just very exciting to see also like how different company approach basically this narrative, right? Because obviously you need to make trade-off, but in the same time you want to make life easier. But also we need to understand that UX, UI, the science of onboarding users, I mean, is huge. Web 2 is already kind of like nailing this down.
Yeah,
we don't need to reinvent.
Problem.
Yeah, but also we don't need to reinvent
the wheel to
right?
solve that problem. Yeah,
and so it's very important also to understand that you want to make sure you wanna build products that are aligned with Web3 value, but in the same time we need to think about how we are onboarding multiple people that are not in our own echo chamber.
Yes, ensuring that the user experience is familiar, convenient, and it scales.
Exactly.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, I think we've delved into very interesting topics right now, and I think those are really fun. I, for one, super excited for the card. 100%.
Yes.
I cannot wait to get my hands on that. But yeah, no. Any final thoughts as we wrap up real quick?
I think on the user side, it's super exciting what is happening. On the developer side, if you're building right now, always reach out. All the ecosystem is permissionless, right? You can build snaps, you can interact with all the SDK, you can build delegation. There is a lot of activities happening, but I would say kind of like stay curious and build a use case that you are passionate about. And right now, the ecosystem is moving so fast, so you can actually like test out things very fast. You can actually like, I'm not saying vibe code everything, but you can actually run products development on scale. So one thing that I'm always kind of like conscious to say in those videos is make sure that distribution, you understand distribution is what matters too, right? So understand how you want to build a product, but also understand how you want to distribute and build the ecosystem around it, right? Because maybe in the first, in a couple of like bull market ago, we were saying, product-centric narrative. I'm totally around, community-centric narrative is what really matters. We need to get not just feedback from the community, but active feedbacks to our PMs. So I think, and having an active community means also like everyone in the ecosystem can build and further extend the functionality of what you're building. And this is super important. So if you're building public, open source, but think about also build something that the community can pick up and build on top of it.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you, Francesco.
Pleasure.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.